How to install your PractiCAD software. The first thing you must do in order to install the software is get a copy of the zip file for the version of PractiCAD you want. And the zip files come in all different formats. Each one has a different serial number based upon the version of AutoCAD you're using and whether or not your computer is 32-bit or 64-bit. In order to see the different list of zip files, we're going to go over to a Word document we created for this tutorial. Here you can see the format for all zip files plus the AutoCAD that they're associated to. The way zip files are broken down is first we always put the date. Here you can see 2011, 09 for September, 08. So September 8th, 2011 is the date. The next series of numbers is the version of PractiCAD. This is version 3.00.0233. That is the version of PractiCAD we're going to install for this tutorial. However, whenever we discuss what version of PractiCAD a customer has, all you need to do is say the last three digits. This is version 233. The beginning digits do not matter, just version 233. The next sequence dictates what version of AutoCAD and for what computer type, being 32-bit or 64-bit, this zip file is for. R17.0 is for AutoCAD 2007. 17.1 is for AutoCAD 2008. 17.2 is for AutoCAD 2009. 18.0 is for AutoCAD 2010. 18.0 times 64 is AutoCAD 2010, but a 64-bit computer. We didn't have any compatibility before 2010. All versions after 2010 are released for both 32-bit and 64-bit. So 18.0 times 64 is AutoCAD 2010, 64-bit. 18.1 for 11 and 18.2 for AutoCAD 2012. Once you know the proper zip file, now we must open and install PractiCAD. In this tutorial, my computer happens to be 2011 64-bit. So I'm going to take this zip file off of the email that was sent to me from MetaLab. Going back into the email, you can see here that we've got the proper zip file, R18.1 for AutoCAD 2011 times 64-bit .zip. You will also notice there is a copy of the same file, but it says the word PCAD enabler. Take a look right here. Each zip file also has another zip file for the enablers. They are separate. Enablers are free. They're also on our website. Every time we give you a zip file for PractiCAD, we give you an enabler with it. So when you send your drawings out to other users, they can download the enabler and see all of the information on the drawing, whether they own PractiCAD or not. So to install PractiCAD, we're going to grab the one that just says 18.1 times 64 zip. The enabler would be right here. PCAD enabler, and it's 18.1 64-bit. So now what we're going to do is double click on the zip file. When we do that, AutoCAD or Windows 7 is going to open up a little folder here. We're going to say open this file. Now you could save this onto your desktop first and then open the file. I'm doing it directly from the email. There's only one folder currently. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to go down to Setup EXE. Now I did not have to extract the files because the file size of a PractiCAD zip file currently for the installing of PractiCAD, the software, is about 9 megs large. It will start to get larger as time goes on, and then we might need to extract it. For example, all PractiCAD files need to be extracted first. Here we don't have to do that. I'm now going to double click on Setup EXE, and we're going to press Run. Now PractiCAD opens up the installer. The first thing we're going to do is click on the Next key here. Then we need to accept the terms for the licensing agreement. I'm going to say, yes, I agree. And then we can click Next. Here you want to put in, if it's your first time installing PractiCAD, your username, company, address, and email. However, if it's another new version or an upgrade from PractiCAD, this information will carry over, as you can see on my desktop. If this information is correct, we're going to press Next again. Now you can see that it tells us that you are about to install PractiCAD software version 233, and tells us it will work with AutoCAD 2011. It's telling us the destination folders that it's going to save it. It always gets saved into Program Files, Contractors, Tools, PractiCAD. And we're going to go back into those folders to open it up when we're done. Hit Next to continue. And now you can see that it says PractiCAD installer is ready to begin installation of PractiCAD software on this computer. I'm going to hit Next one more time. You will see that it is now preparing to copy files and it's running through the installation process. It's going to give you a little progress bar to tell you how far we have to go to get it installed. Now after this section, we're going to want to make sure and take a pause. Notice before we get to the next section that we're getting a note that says the CryptKey license installation is complete, which means it's activated. We're going to press OK, and it's going to continue to the last section. Here it's very important to pay attention to the options. PractiCAD is giving us options to import information not just from new versions, but from old versions. Notice there are two checklists, one on the left and then one on the right. The one on the left says, would you like to install data for the current product installation? What that means is we're going to install PractiCAD 233. 233 might have default data in it like specifications, locks, joints, catalogs, basically the default data in PractiCAD. If it's your first time using PractiCAD and installing PractiCAD, these should all be checked or your PractiCAD will come in with no information. However, once you've installed your first PractiCAD and you've created all of your data, to prevent the data from the new installation mixing with the data from the old installation, for example, if you had 10 specification tables designed and PractiCAD had 5 in the defaults, if we keep this checked, we're going to end up with 15 spec tables. 5 of them will be in the list that we do not want. So generally, after the first installation, all of these are usually unchecked from version to version unless MetaLab tells you to do otherwise. In this tutorial, I'm going to keep them all checked. On the right hand side, it says import data from a previous product installation. I have multiple versions of PractiCAD on my computer. I can choose to import the data from my older version into my newer version. Right here you can see if I uncheck this, I won't import data from a previous product installation. But if I check it, I can now select the PractiCAD version I want to import data from. I'm installing version 233 in this tutorial, therefore I want to import the data from my version of PractiCAD 232. Now we have a checklist of all the different categories and catalogs inside PractiCAD. If I wanted to import everything from my old version, with the exception of catalogs, I could uncheck catalogs and my catalogs would not import. Everything else would. Or you could open up catalogs and then choose the specific catalogs you do or don't want to import. 99% of the time, we leave all of these on the right checked, so everything imports from a previous product installation, and we leave everything on the left unchecked. Once we've made the decision for what to import, we can now press Next. PractiCAD is going to stop and say, do you really want to download? And it's going to tell you the version you're downloading from. It's giving you one more chance to make sure you're importing from the proper version. I'm going to say yes. Now you can see that the progress window will continue up until 100%. Once it reaches 100, will then be complete with the import portion of the installation. Now after about a minute or so, the progress bar will be complete to 100% and it'll go to your last and final window, which tells you that you are finished installing PractiCAD. I'm now going to click the Finish button. Now the last thing we need to do is bring the icon onto our desktop. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and go to Show the Desktop, and what we'd like to do is we'd like to add one of the icons for PractiCAD 233. The last thing we want to do is then make sure that we get the PractiCAD icon or quick access icon onto our desktop. To do that, we're going to go over to our desktop and we're going to pull out the PractiCAD icon. You can see here I have one for PractiCam and a couple different. We need to bring out the one for PractiCAD 233. PractiCAD always saves the file into the same place. Go to Start, All Programs, Contractors Tools. That's where we keep all of our files. Open up Contractors Tools and you'll see the last one highlighted that we downloaded, which is PractiCAD 233. We're going to open it up, and right here is our Register PractiCAD icon. We can either just drag it and drop it onto the desktop, or right-click, hit Copy, and then paste it where we'd like to have it. Once we do that, we now just have to double-click on the PractiCAD icon, and PractiCAD will open up. That concludes the tutorial on installing PractiCAD.